Good afternoon. I'm Pablo Iglesias, and this is Sports Talk. A four-time Emmy winner, a member of the National Radio Hall of Fame, and currently he is the radio play-by-play voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers. However, today we are focusing on our special guest career that started a sports cable channel in Bristol, Connecticut, to which is now the worldwide leader in sports. So without further ado, to discuss his career with us at ESPN, it is my pleasure to present Mr. Charley Stenier. Thank you for coming today. Excuse me.
Both. It's good to be here.
Well, Mr. Steiner, straight into the questions. Wanted to ask, as we said, ESPN started as a smaller company in Bristol, Connecticut, was really cable. So what was your type of reaction when you received that initial call?
Well, I got there in 1988. ESPN went on the air in 1979. And the first several years were rocky. It was a work in progress. Along about 88, a fellow named John Walsh was hired by ESPN to reconfigure, reboot, restart SportsCenter, which to that point was basically a scoreboard show. And he brought people in who didn't necessarily have a whole lot of television experience, and I was one of them. I was a radio guy. Peter Gammons was the first writer-reporter who went on television, took over as one of our baseball correspondents. Saw Peter last week. Excuse me, Andrea Kramer was a writer at NFL Films, and she's become one of the great female sportscasters, reporters. Jimmy Roberts was Dick Schaap's producer. So what they did, they wanted to bring in and make it a journalistically credible enterprise. And that happened at a time when Pete Rose's career was going up in smoke. Mike Tyson's career was going up in smoke. Magic Johnson contracted the HIV virus. And so the SportsCenter, which had been basically a scoreboard show, became a journalistic enterprise. And that gave ESPN, at least to some degree, a whole new avenue to travel down. Then it, at the same time, got rights to Major League Baseball, and had done awfully well with the NCAA. Then the NFL came along. And so this little cable station in Connecticut became this powerful monolith, and all of that going on, and we in Bristol, Connecticut were the last ones to know. We were just a bunch of kids going into the studio every day, and it happened. You know, suddenly we're going through airports and people are recognizing us, and it was like, me? You know, and there was a lot of that for a lot of us. And then I got there, Robin Roberts got there, Keith Olbermann, Dan Patrick, Mike Tirico, and on and on and on. And so it was just one of those, it was this perfect storm that kind of gathered around 88, and by 95, in the next 7 years, it took off to where it is now.
Okay. And overall with the environment, I know we've seen some of the human side, I guess, or one of the funnier sides with it. This is SportsCenter's commercials. Actually, one of my favorites is the one, the Y2K one with you.
Follow me to freedom.
Yes, follow me to freedom. That's one of my personal favorites. I know with the commercials they can exaggerate a tendency unless you had something else. So we wanted to know, what is the ESPN environment like?
Well, again, what it was like then, what it's like now, I can't tell you what it's like now. I've been out of there for 13 years. When I first got there, it was a much smaller operation. It was purely ESPN. There was no ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPNU, ESPN Radio. There was none of that. So there were just a couple of hundred of us. There were only about 8 or 9 anchors. So now I can't even name one of them over there. That's, again, neither here nor there. And at that time, because we were in this little town and there was not a whole lot else going on, we were family. We lived off one another. And I think that was one of the things that helped make us identifiable, because there was a natural chemistry, because we were so close to one another for so long. We were 2 hours from New York and 2 hours from Boston, which meant we were an hour too far from either, and so we were just stuck there. And all of our time essentially was spent in the newsroom and in the studio.
Okay. And with our final question here, You did end up leaving ESPN to pursue a career play-by-play with the Yankees and now with the Dodgers, who you're currently with. So when it came to making that decision, why did you decide to leave and how tough was it?
Oh, it wasn't tough at all. I was there 14 years and I'd done pretty much all I had wanted to do, and I think I always wanted to announce for the Dodgers. That was my end game from the time I started at WRBU in 1967. And at the end of 2001, a couple of things happened. 9/11 and Barry Bonds. After 9/11, I did the first game back. The Phillies hosting the Braves. Then I did the last 12 games of Bonds' season, so I called his home run 68 through 73, and I've been doing baseball for quite a while. And then, I make a long story short, I had two competing offers, one with the San Francisco Giants and one with the New York Yankees. Baseball was the road I always wanted to take. I took the Yankee job. I grew up in New York. My father was in ill health, and I thought, well, this would be kind of neat. He can hear me do my work for a while, and he did. But the Dodgers were the team I always wanted to announce for. And when my deal was up with the Yankees after 3 years, the Dodgers called one day, and I've been there ever since.
Well, that's all the time we have here for Sports Talk. I'm Pablo Iglesias with our special guest, Mr. Charley Stenier. Thanks for tuning in.